They might call it Shango or Batala or some of the other orishas that they use. So, in the playing of musical instruments, the drum, you see all of those things still existing in our culture today. So we are just as much African as we were 400 years ago as we are today. The difference is we don't speak the language, so we can't identify a specific ethnic group on the African continent. But when you look at our behavior, the way we dress, our language, the type of creative arts and expressive arts that we have, such as the music, the dance, jazz, you see all of that. And especially in the spirituals and jazz and the blues, you can trace all of that back to Africa. In fact, you can trace rap back to Africa with the griots.
And so when we talk about Africans in the United States, which way the 21st century, we have to have as a reference point the very fact that Africans were here and have been here since Christopher Columbus's time. And then, but now to look at Africans in the United States, let's look at that branch of the African group.
Yes, and having this conversation, I am reminded of Du Bois' Souls of Black Folks. As he stood at the unfolding or the opening of the 20th century, he made a statement. He said, the problem of the 20th century is the color line. Now, as we stand at the 21st century, what kind of statement can we make? Well, I think one thing that we see is that the problem of the 21st century is going to be the digital divide. The world is going to be divided into those people who have computer technology and capital versus those that don't. So that those class lines in the 21st century are more salient and more pronounced than the race question was in the 21st century. So over that century, I think we have attended to the conflicts and the contradictions of white supremacy, racism, not adequately, be that as it may, but we have not dealt with those fundamental issues of economic injustice, those fundamental core issues of poverty and unemployment, inadequate health care. Those things are now becoming universal. And when you see how AIDS is becoming a plague all over the world, and especially in Africa and among African Americans, you can just see how things are more economic now than they are matters of race.
You know, but I think, Dr. AAl-Hadid, you've always taken the position that even when you dealt with the international slave trade, that economic situations played a significant role in terms of Europeans becoming involved with that. And let's, and we're getting ready for our first commercial break, but let's start. We've got about 58 seconds. Let's start on that and continue that. I'll interrupt you at the appropriate time, but let's continue on that and to talk about the economics of slavery and how that helped to bring us to where we are today.
Yeah, one of the most significant things about the slave trade was this system they set up called the triangular trade, where they would invest in a slave company, go to Africa, purchase slaves or capture slaves, bring them to the Caribbeans, work them on the plantation, produce rum and sugar cane, then take those finished products back to the European markets and sell them. Well, once they connected the triangle up, then they made anywhere from 200–300% profits, and of course they would reinvest. So the slave trade was an investment in primitive capitalism.
Very, very good. And of course, let us have our first commercial break here, Dr. AAl-Hadid, and we'll be back with you following this very short commercial break. Topic is Africa.